Welcome back. I am Adeline Atlas, 11 times published author, and this is the Destiny Swapping series. Taylor Swift's career is not just a story of music or celebrity. It is a case study in star-level warfare. What happened to her on the global stage is textbook destiny swapping, an orchestrated attempt to humiliate, destabilize, and reroute her path while the world watched. The fact that it failed makes her one of the most powerful examples of reclamation in modern culture. The 2009 MTV Video Music Awards have gone down in pop history as a dramatic interruption, a celebrity scandal, a moment of chaos. But anyone who understands the mechanics of star hunting and destiny theft knows that night was much more than awkward television. It was ritual, a public humiliation staged in front of millions, designed to cage a rising star before it could fully ascend. Destiny theft does not always happen in backrooms or hidden covens. Often it unfolds in plain sight, wrapped in entertainment. The stage, the cameras, the audience, these become the altar. The chosen one becomes the offering. And humiliation becomes the ritual act meant to fracture their field. Swift, then a teenager standing on one of the biggest stages of her career, was stunned into silence as her recognition was stripped from her hands. The entire exchange was symbolic. Her award snatched, her legitimacy dismissed, her moment inverted into shame. Humiliation has always been one of the most effective tactics in star theft. A chosen one's star shines not only through talent, but through certainty. When certainty cracks, the field weakens. Shame convinces the target that they are unworthy of what they carry. Once that lie takes root, the door opens for interference. Humiliation is therefore not just emotional injury. It is an energetic contract, a spiritual loophole through which the thief attempts to enter. That night, the industry did not just try to embarrass Swift, they tried to bind her. Most people who undergo this kind of public shaming never recover. History is full of artists, leaders, and visionaries whose destinies collapsed after a humiliation ritual. Their stars dimmed, their momentum evaporated, their influence was rerouted to others who rose in their place. The goal of a ritual like the VMAs is always the same: destabilize the chosen and redirect the blessings. But Taylor Swift did something few manage. She retreated, but she did not surrender. Her withdrawal after the humiliation was framed by the media as weakness, as a wounded young woman licking her wounds. But in the mechanics of destiny warfare, retreat is often the most strategic move available. When the star is attacked, when shame has been weaponized, the only way to stop the siphoning is to step out of the arena. Swift's disappearance was not collapse, it was repair. She pulled her energy inward, closed the leaks humiliation had tried to open, and began the work of rebuilding her field in private. What looked like hiding was actually preservation. By refusing to spiral publicly, she denied the thieves continued access to her destabilized state. Had she stayed in the spotlight raw and fractured, the ritual might have succeeded. But she understood instinctively that silence was a shield. Retreat cut the cord of ongoing siphoning, starved the mirror that was trying to feed off her humiliation, and gave her the distance to recover clarity. When she reemerged, it was not as the girl who had been silenced. It was as an artist reforged by fire. Every era that followed, Red, 1989, Reputation, Folklore, Evermore, Midnights, The Tortured Poets Department, was more than an album cycle. Each was a deliberate recalibration of her star. She turned pain into narrative genius, shame into dominance, and ridicule into unshakable favor. What humiliation intended to erase, she rescripted. 1989 was her declaration that she could cross genres and rewrite industry rules. Reputation was her direct confrontation with the humiliation narrative itself, turning the scandal into art, weaponizing her pain into performance, and flipping the script on those who thought she had been buried. With Folklore and Evermore, she proved her brilliance transcended trends, grounding her star in timeless storytelling that no ritual could erase. Each release was not just music, it was spiritual warfare in sonic form. And the proof of victory is visible in numbers. By 2023 and 2024, Taylor Swift had shattered nearly every industry record available. She became the most streamed female artist in history. She achieved what no one had before, claiming the entire Billboard Top 10 at once. Her Eras Tour became not just successful, but the most profitable tour in human history. So vast in scope, it boosted entire national economies. These are not simply commercial wins. They are the unmistakable overflow of a star that could not be stolen. In the framework of destiny swapping, once a theft attempt fails, the blessings often return multiplied. What was blocked returns in double portion. What was delayed comes back in overflow. Swift's current dominance is not just talent rewarded. It is the compounded inheritance of a star that endured an attempted cage and broke free. The humiliation ritual that was supposed to bind her instead became the fire that made her untouchable. This is why she is now perceived as unfuckable with. Once a chosen one metabolizes humiliation into strength, no further attempt can destabilize them. Every trick has already been played. Every weapon has already been used. The target has already stood in the fire and discovered it could not consume them. That is what makes them sovereign. Swift did not just survive her failed destiny swap, she emerged from it as one of the most unshakable cultural forces of her generation. The lesson hidden in Taylor Swift's journey is how humiliation exposes the mechanics of star warfare. Star hunters do not always operate in the shadows. They thrive on spectacle, on visibility, on moments when the world is watching. The stage becomes their battlefield. The cameras become their spiritual witnesses. The crowd becomes a chorus that reinforces the theft. And humiliation, public, sharp, unforgettable, becomes the mechanism through which they attempt to extract consent. Consent does not have to be spoken. It can be felt, implied, or silently agreed to under duress. When someone is humiliated, the danger is that they internalize the shame. They begin to believe the lie being performed against them, that they are unworthy, illegitimate, replaceable. Once that belief takes hold, the star's frequency collapses. Their field begins to leak. Their favor flows outward into other vessels. This is how destiny swaps succeed, through the silent contracts signed in moments of deep injury. What happened next is proof that spiritual law cannot be bypassed. Destiny is not just talent or ambition. It is inheritance encoded before birth. It can be delayed, it can be attacked, it can be temporarily covered or caged, but it cannot be permanently stolen from the rightful carrier. The star may be dimmed, but it cannot be extinguished. Swift is living proof. When her star returned, it did so with exponential voltage. What had been mocked as weakness became the very narrative that fueled her rise. What had been designed as humiliation became the central plot twist that kept her story irresistible. By weaponizing her own vulnerability, she stripped her enemies of their power. Every song, every album cycle, every reinvention was not just artistic evolution, it was reclamation. And reclamation is always louder than theft. When a chosen one reclaims their star, the light does not simply return, it floods. The energy that was siphoned comes back in overflow. The opportunities that were delayed show up doubled. The doors that were slammed reopen wider. This is why Taylor Swift did not just bounce back, she dominated. She set records no one else had imagined breaking. She turned her narrative into something untouchable, because the worst had already been thrown at her, and she had transmuted it. By the time she reached the Eras Tour, she was no longer just an artist reclaiming her narrative. She had become a cultural phenomenon. Entire cities reorganized around her performances. Economies reported measurable boosts from her presence. Millions of fans experienced her concerts as pilgrimage. This is not ordinary success. It is the evidence of a star operating fully in alignment after surviving an attempted theft. In destiny mechanics, this is called compounded favor. Favor is not luck. Favor is the frequency of alignment between a person and their divine contract. When someone attempts to interfere with that contract and fails, the favor often intensifies. The star returns not at baseline, but in overflow. Swift's overflow is visible in every statistic, every sold-out arena, every cultural shift her presence now commands. The failed destiny swap did not just preserve her star, it made her indestructible. Once someone has walked through public humiliation and turned it into power, they cannot be humiliated again. Every attempt at mockery only strengthens the legend. Every attempt to displace her only proves her permanence. The ritual meant to erase her became the ritual that crowned her. And that is why today she is not simply successful, she is sovereign. But Swift never signed it. She stood stunned, yes. She retreated, yes. But she never surrendered the inner conviction that she carried something unmatched. That decision, silent, perhaps unconscious at the time, was the fracture point that prevented the ritual from finalizing. Where others might have spiraled into self-destruction, addiction, or collapse, she refused to give her humiliation the last word. Her decision to metabolize shame into fuel is what rewrote the story. Shame is meant to bind. Swift used it as ignition. Every insult, every dismissal, every whisper that she had been broken became raw material for her creative empire. Her work did not avoid the narrative. They faced it head-on, reclaimed it, and turned it into a platform. This is the exact opposite of how destiny swaps succeed. Instead of leaking energy into those who tried to siphon her, she redirected the energy back into her own art and made it multiply. What makes Taylor Swift's story so important is not just that she recovered. It's that she inverted the ritual entirely. The very mechanism designed to silence her became the defining moment that amplified her authority. This inversion is rare. Most chosen ones subjected to humiliation rituals never return to full strength. Their humiliation becomes their cage. Their shame becomes their identity. The narrative sticks and the star is permanently dimmed. But Swift refused to let humiliation define her. Instead, she made it her content. She took control of the narrative by embedding the experience directly into her art. Songs, albums, imagery, tours, all became vehicles for retelling her story on her own terms. This strategy prevented her enemies from writing the ending for her. Every time she released new work, she reasserted authorship over her destiny. This continuous act of narrative reclamation stripped the humiliation of its power. Third, she weaponized the pain publicly. Many who undergo humiliation retreat and never return. Swift turned her retreat into transformation, then brought the results to the world stage. She refused to hide her process. She invited her audience into it. Instead of concealing her shame, she broadcast it in the form of songs and stories that millions could connect with. This act of vulnerability was radical. It flipped the ritual from one of isolation into one of expansion. Her humiliation became a communal language, strengthening her bond with her fans and multiplying her influence. This is the essence of why her destiny could not be stolen. A destiny swap requires secrecy, shame, and silence to take root. Swift broke all three. She spoke about it. She sang about it. She turned it into performance. By making the hidden visible, she robbed the ritual of its invisibility cloak. The mechanics of star theft operate in the shadows, but she dragged it into the light, and once exposed, it lost its power. The result was not just her survival, but her ascension. Her career after the failed swap illustrates what happens when a chosen one reclaims authority. The star does not simply return, it becomes indomitable. Swift's narrative now functions as a case study for the chosen generation, a blueprint for how to metabolize humiliation into sovereignty. Her example shows that humiliation does not have to be the end. It can be the crucible. It can be the proof of magnitude. When a chosen one endures global mockery and still rises, they become immune to future attacks. They have already survived the worst the hunters could throw. They have already walked through the fire without burning. And that immunity becomes their permanent shield. This is why today, Taylor Swift is untouchable. She has established an archetype that no one else can easily replicate. Her dominance is not simply the result of talent, marketing, or luck. It is the fruit of a star that endured an attempted theft, rejected the contract, and reclaimed authority with such precision that the system itself had to adjust to her. The industry that once mocked her now revolves around her. The critics who dismissed her now study her. The very stage that once humiliated her now bows to her presence. And this is the ultimate proof that destiny swapping has limits. It can delay, but it cannot destroy. It can cover, but it cannot erase. A stolen star may flicker, but it cannot be permanently extinguished. Once the rightful carrier reclaims alignment, the flow returns, often stronger than before. Swift is living testimony that humiliation is not the end of destiny, but often the very moment it begins to magnify. Why did it fail on her when it has succeeded on so many others? There are three core reasons. First, she never internalized the lie. Humiliation works only if the target believes it. The entire point of public ridicule is to convince the chosen one that they are unworthy of their gift. Once they believe that, their star collapses from within. Swift never gave the ritual that satisfaction. She felt the pain, yes, but she never handed over the right to define her worth. Second, she had already been trained by rejection. Swift entered the industry as a teenager, navigating a male-dominated environment that dismissed young women as trivial, unserious, or replaceable. From the start, she was required to develop a resilience to dismissal. By the time the VMA ritual unfolded, she had already been inoculated against disbelief. What was supposed to shock her into collapse only reinforced a muscle she had long been building. Hi, I am Adeline Atlas, 11 times published author, and SOS, School of Soul has a brand new series, the AI and Future Technology series. Look, you know the world is changing. And no, it's not going back to normal. Normal is over, and what's coming next is beyond anything we were prepared for. The School of Soul, AI and Future Technology series includes 319 videos on 1. The Download Society, How Data Has Replaced Destiny. 2. Predictive Future, Your next moves aren't random, they're forecasted. 3. Social Credit Systems, The Behavioral Economy Now Governs Access. 4. Hive Mind, Synthetic Telepathy and Collective Algorithmic Control. 5. Nanobots Inside You, Medical, Military, and Programmable Intrusions. 6. Grief Tech, AI-fueled digital resurrection and simulated comfort. 7. Uploading your mind, consciousness transfer and data-based identity. 8. Deep fakes plus AI clones, the replication of reality and identity theft. 9. Quantum humans, the merger of biology with quantum systems. 10. Digital afterlife, where your data goes when you die. 11. Resurrection science, reviving life through synthetic methods. 12. Immortal science, the end of death as we know it. 13. Longevity science, gene editing, anti-aging, and bio-upgrades. 14. Designer babies, engineered perfection before birth. 15. Artificial wombs, birth decoupled from the female body. 16. 3D printing, printing organs, limbs, and even humans. 17. The humanoid era, the rise of synthetic beings among us. 18. Legacy humans, the slow phase-out of unmodified analog people. 19. Smart cities, algorithmic environments that watch and decide. 20. Cloud-based societies, citizenship without borders or bodies. 21. Hackable humans, emotion, memory, and behavior under code. 22. Biometric scanning, your body is your password and your prison. 23. Sex tech, intimacy reprogrammed by machines. 24. Extinction of gender, fluidity, deletion, and design of identity. Every topic is fully explored with real-world technologies, patents, case studies, ethical analysis, and future forecasts. These aren't someday discussions. This is already happening. Join the SOS School of Soul Vault to overstand the future before it's implemented on you.